Picture this. A single mom walks into a bustling supermarket, pushing a cart with her toddler, just trying to get through her day. But in one cruel moment, she's accused of theft in front of a crowd, her dignity torn apart. Then, with one swipe of a card, she flips the script, silencing her accusers, firing a bully, and leaving everyone stunned. Who was she? And what power did that card hold? Stay with us, because this story of courage, redemption, and raw truth will keep you glued to the end. But in the heart of Columbus, Ohio, on a sticky July afternoon, the air buzzed with the hum of air conditioners and the chatter of shoppers at Grayson's Food Emporium, a sprawling grocery chain known for its bright red carts and endless aisles of deals. Under the harsh, fluorescent lights, Maria Alvarez, 41, navigated her cart with practiced ease, her 2-year-old daughter Sophia babbling happily in the seat, clutching a stuffed bunny. Maria didn't look like someone who'd make headlines. Her faded jeans, loose gray t-shirt, and messy bun screamed, "Ordinary mom," not game changer. Her sneakers squeaked faintly on the polished linoleum, and her reusable tote, frayed at the edges, swung from her shoulder, stuffed with coupons and a water bottle. But Maria carried more than groceries that day. She carried a story, a past, and a power nobody saw coming. Maria was a widow, raising Sophia alone since her husband, Miguel, died in a construction accident 3 years ago. Life hadn't been easy, but she clawed her way to stability, working nights as a freelance accountant, managing a small nonprofit, and stretching every dollar to keep Sophia fed, clothed, and smiling. Today was routine. Grab milk, eggs, diapers, maybe some ground beef if it was under $5 a pound. Her mental math ticked like a metronome, balancing her budget against Sophia's needs. Grayson's was her go-to store, not because it was fancy, but because it was close, reliable, and had a loyalty program that shaved a few bucks off her bill. She knew every aisle, every sale sign, every shortcut to the checkout. As she reached for a carton of eggs, Sophia giggled, tossing her bunny in the air. Maria caught it, laughing softly. "Easy, mija," she whispered, tucking the toy back into Sophia's tiny hands. A woman in a sundress nearby smiled at the scene. An older man pushing a cart nodded warmly. Just another day, right? Maria moved to the baby aisle, grabbing a pack of diapers. $19, a punch to her wallet, but non-negotiable. Then she picked up a jar of organic baby food, checking the price twice. $3.50. Steep, but Sophia deserved it. She hummed a lullaby, weaving past towers of cereal and displays of canned peaches, oblivious to the storm brewing ahead. At the checkout, Maria chose lane 4, where a young cashier, Jake, maybe 19, with a buzz cut and a half-hearted smile, was scanning items with robotic precision. The line was short, just 2 people ahead, a guy in a polo shirt and a woman with a basket of produce. Maria unloaded her cart, eggs, milk, ground beef, diapers, baby food, a loaf of whole wheat bread, and a discounted pack of apples. Jake scanned, barely glancing up, tossing items into plastic bags with a flick of his wrist. Total, $82.47, he said, eyes on the register screen. Maria nodded, reaching into her tote for her wallet. But before her fingers touched it, a harsh voice sliced through the hum of the store. "Stop right there. We need to check your bags." It was Carla, the shift supervisor, late 30s, in a red Grayson's vest, her blonde ponytail pulled tight, and a clipboard clutched like a weapon. She stood behind Jake, hands on hips, her eyes locked on Maria's cart with a mix of suspicion and authority. The line behind Maria, now 5 people deep, froze. Sophia babbled, oblivious, but Maria's chest tightened. She knew this feeling, this moment, like an old scar flaring up. "Check my bags for what?" Maria asked, her voice steady but her pulse quickening. She kept one hand on Sophia's cart, grounding herself. Carla stepped closer, her lips pursed. "Routine inspection. We've had problems with shoplifting lately, especially high-value items." Her voice was loud, too loud, carrying to the next lane, where a cashier paused mid-scan to glance over. Jake stopped bagging, his hands hovering awkwardly. The guy in the polo shirt behind Maria coughed, shifting his weight. A woman with a toddler in the next lane whispered something to her friend. Problems with what? Maria's tone sharpened, though she kept it calm, her brown eyes meeting Carla's blue ones. "I'm paying for everything. You see my cart, my receipts coming?" She felt the weight of stares. Jake, the customers, a teenage girl filming on her phone from lane 5. Carla didn't flinch. "It's policy," she said, already reaching for Maria's tote, her fingers brushing the frayed fabric. "Won't take long, ma'am." The ma'am hit like a jab, polite, but dripping with condescension. Maria's jaw clenched, but she didn't move her bag. "Policy for who?" she asked, her voice low but cutting. "You checking everybody like this, or just me?" She glanced at the polo shirt guy, then the woman with the basket, both white, both unbothered, their carts untouched. Carla's hands paused, but her expression hardened. "We check when we need to. High-value items like those diapers, baby food, they're common targets." She pointed at the cart, her tone implying guilt without saying it. "Targets?" Maria's laugh was sharp, bitter, echoing in the suddenly quiet lane. "You're saying I'm stealing diapers for my daughter in front of her? In front of a crowd?" Her voice rose, not shouting, but enough to make the teenage girl's phone tilt closer. Sophia fussed, sensing the tension, and Maria stroked her hair, whispering, "Shh, we're okay, mija." But her eyes stayed on Carla, unyielding. The supervisor didn't back down, pulling the diaper pack from the cart and inspecting it like it was contraband. "Just doing my job," Carla said, setting the diapers down with a thud. "If you've paid, there's no issue." "If," Maria stepped forward, her tote still between them. "You're accusing me without proof, humiliating me in front of all these people, and you say, 'if'?" Her heart pounded, but her voice was steel, every word deliberate. The crowd grew, 7, 8 people now, some pretending to check their phones, others openly staring. Jake shifted uncomfortably, muttering, "Maybe we should—" But Carla cut him off. "Scan your lane," she snapped, and he shrank back, eyes on the floor. Maria felt the weight of every glance, every whisper, every assumption pressing down like a physical force. It wasn't new. She'd been 17, stopped by a mall cop for looking suspicious with her backpack. 25, questioned at a gas station for using a $50 bill. 33, followed in a department store while shopping for Miguel's birthday gift. Now 41, with her daughter watching, the same script played out again. A script written in prejudice, inked in the assumption that she didn't belong, that her brown skin and faded jeans marked her as less. But this time, Maria wasn't just tired. She was done. She took a deep breath, centering herself. She could walk away, pay, and leave, but not today, not with Sophia's wide eyes on her, not with this crowd waiting for her to bend or break. "You're finished," she said, her voice quiet but firm, reaching for her tote. Carla's hand darted out, not touching her, but close enough to make Maria tense. "Ma'am, I'm not done." "Yes, you are," Maria said, pulling the bag back, her movement slow, deliberate. "You don't get to search my things without a reason. Call your manager, now." The word manager landed like a thunderclap. Carla blinked, caught off guard, her clipboard lowering slightly. Then she grabbed her walkie-talkie, her voice tight. "Need Greg to lane 4, ASAP." The air thickened. Customers shuffled. Some bailed to other lanes. Others stayed, drawn to the drama. Maria stood tall, one hand on Sophia's cart, the other gripping her tote. She avoided the crowd's eyes focusing on her daughter, who clutched her bunny tighter. "We're good, baby," Maria whispered, her voice a lifeline. Sophia giggled, and it anchored her. This wasn't just about her. It was about showing Sophia what it meant to stand up, to demand respect. Greg arrived, early 50s, red vest, balding, with a weary stride that said he'd seen it all. He glanced at Carla, then Maria, then the scattered items on the counter. "What's the problem?" His tone was gruff, like he was already annoyed. "Your supervisor," Maria said, nodding at Carla, "is accusing me of stealing. Ripped my groceries apart in front of everyone. No evidence, no reason. I want to know why." Greg's eyes flicked to Carla, who straightened, clutching her clipboard. "Routine check," she said, pointing at the diapers. "High-value items. We've had thefts. It's protocol." "Protocol for who?" Maria asked, her voice a blade. Same question, same fire. "You doing this to every customer, or just the ones who look like me?" The crowd hushed. The teenage girl's phone zoomed in. Greg hesitated, sensing the tension, the eyes, the recording. "Let's calm down," he said, raising a hand. "I'm sure it's a misunderstanding. We'll rescan your items, clear it up." "Rescan?" Maria's voice spiked, sharp and incredulous. "I paid. Jake scanned everything. You're not running my groceries twice because she's got a hunch. I want an apology, and I want my stuff back in my bag." Sophia whimpered, and Maria rocked the cart gently, her eyes never leaving Greg. The manager's face tightened, caught between Carla's defiance and the growing crowd. "Ma'am," he started, "let's keep this civil. We'll comp your order, okay? No need to make a scene." "A scene?" Maria's laugh was cold, cutting through the fluorescent hum. "You're shaming me in front of half the store, and I'm making a scene? I'm a customer, same as them." She nodded at the polo shirt guy, who looked away, and the woman with the basket, who fiddled with her keys. "I'm not begging for my own groceries." The crowd murmured. Someone said, "She's right," under their breath. Another whispered, "This is messed up." The teenage girl kept filming, her friend now recording too. Greg sighed, turning to Carla. "Bag her items. Let's move on." Carla started rebagging, her movement stiff, her lips a thin line. Maria watched, every nerve on edge, knowing this wasn't the end. She could pay and walk out, let the sting fade like she had so many times before. But something burned inside, not just anger, but a clarity, a refusal to be invisible. Not today, not with Sophia watching, not with a crowd waiting to see if she'd shrink or rise. "Hold on," Maria said, her voice stopping Carla cold. She reached into her tote, slow and deliberate, and pulled out her wallet. From a hidden pocket, she drew a card, not her debit, not her credit, but a matte silver one with embossed gold lettering glinting under the store's lights. The crowd didn't know what it was, but Greg's eyes widened just for a split second. Maria held it up, letting it hang in the air like a challenge. Run this. Jake took it, his hands unsteady, swiping it through the reader. The machine didn't chirp like usual. It let out a deep, resonant beep, a sound that seemed to echo in the silence. Jake stared at the screen, then at Greg, who leaned over, his brow furrowing. "Platinum Elite?" Jake whispered, like he'd stumbled on a state secret. Greg's face paled, then flushed red. "What's that?" Carla asked, still clutching the diaper pack, her voice edged with confusion. Greg didn't answer, his eyes glued to the screen, lips moving as he read something only he could see. Maria stood still, her expression calm but unyielding, one hand on Sophia's cart. The toddler babbled, tugging at her bunny, and Maria smiled down at her, serene as ever. "It means," Greg said finally, his voice strained, "she's a top-tier client." He looked at Maria, recalculating, his gruffness gone. "Mrs. Alvarez, Top-tier?" Maria cut in, her voice soft but razor-sharp. "That's what you call it?" She leaned forward just enough to make Greg shift back. "I'm not just a client. I'm the reason this store didn't shut down last year." The words landed like a gavel, heavy and final. Jake's jaw dropped. Carla's clipboard slipped slightly. The crowd gasped, phones tilting closer, capturing every word. Greg stammered, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "Didn't know what?" Maria's eyes bored into him. "That I could be someone? That I didn't need to steal diapers to keep my daughter clean?" Her voice stayed low, each word a mirror reflecting their assumptions back at them. "You didn't ask. You just assumed, because of how I look, because of my genes, because I'm a Latina mom with a kid in a tote bag. You assumed I'm blessed." The store fell silent, save for Sophia's soft giggles and the distant hum of freezers. Greg's face was a mask of shock and shame. Carla looked like she wanted to melt into the linoleum. Jake clutched the silver card, his eyes wide like he'd just handled a relic. The crowd shifted. Some nodded, others whispered. A few lowered their phones, suddenly aware of their role in this moment. "Let me tell you who I am," Maria said, turning slightly, her voice addressing not just Greg and Carla, but the crowd, the cameras, the world beyond. 10 years ago, I was a nobody, just a bookkeeper scraping by, pregnant with Sophia, grieving my husband. But I didn't stop. I studied, worked nights, built a nonprofit, Alvarez Hope. We fund food pantries, job programs, small businesses. Grayson's Food Emporium was drowning in debt, about to close 5 stores, including this one. She paused, letting the weight settle. My nonprofit stepped in. $3.5 million to save those stores, keep jobs, keep doors open. That card, she nodded at the silver plastic in Jake's hand, isn't just elite. It's my name on your survival. The silence was deafening. Greg's mouth opened, then closed. Carla's clipboard hit the counter with a soft clunk. The teenage girl's phone trembled, her friend whispering, "Oh my God." The polo shirt guy shook his head, muttering, "That's unreal." The woman with the basket stepped back, her face flushed with second-hand embarrassment. Sophia giggled, oblivious, and Maria stroked her hair, her calm unshaken. "Mrs. Alvarez," Greg started, his voice barely above a whisper, "I had no idea. We'll fix this, I swear." "Fix it?" Maria's smile was small, weary, but fierce. "You don't get to fix it after you've torn my dignity apart in front of my daughter. You don't accuse someone of stealing because you didn't bother to see them. I'm here for my groceries and the respect I deserve, same as anybody." Greg nodded, speechless, then turned to Carla. "Office. Now." His voice was low, trembling with barely contained anger. Carla hesitated, her face a mix of defiance and dread, then walked off, her red vest sagging, her ponytail swinging limply. The crowd parted as she passed, some shaking their heads, others whispering. Jake started rebagging Maria's items, his hand shaking, muttering, "I'm so sorry, ma'am." "Maria," she corrected gently, "and you didn't do this. Just remember it." Jake nodded, bagging faster, his face red. Maria paid again, not because she needed to, but to draw a line under the moment, swiping her debit card this time, no flourish, just done. The receipt printed, and she tucked it into her tote, ready to leave. But the story wasn't over. As Maria pushed Sophia's cart toward the exit, the sliding doors burst open, and a woman in a sharp blazer stormed in. Mid-50s, silver hair, carrying an air of authority that made heads turn. "Mrs. Alvarez," she called, her voice cutting through the store's buzz. It was Diane Kessler, Grayson's regional vice president, someone Maria had met briefly at a charity event 2 years ago. Maria stopped, one hand on the cart, her expression curious, but guarded. "Diane," she said, nodding, no smile yet. Diane hurried over, her heels clicking, her face a mix of urgency and regret. She glanced at the lingering crowd, then at Maria, catching her breath. "I got a call from corporate. Someone posted a video online. I'm horrified. This should never have happened." "It did happen," Maria said, her voice calm but unflinching. "And it's not new. It's just the first time someone recorded it." She rocked Sophia's cart gently, her focus steady. Diane's face crumpled, like the weight of the moment had hit her all at once. "We're taking action," Diane said quickly. "Carla's terminated, effective immediately. Gross misconduct. Greg's on administrative leave, pending a full investigation. HR's rolling out mandatory retraining across all our Ohio stores, starting tomorrow." She paused, her eyes searching Maria's. "But I know that's not enough. I checked your file after the call. Alvarez Hope saved us $3.5 million, plus another $1 million for our Durham expansion. We owe you everything." Maria raised an eyebrow, waiting. Diane straightened, her voice softening. "I want to offer you something real, Maria. Not just an apology. We'd like you to join our advisory board. Not as a figurehead, but as a voice to shape our policies, our training, how we treat every customer who walks through these doors. Your name means something, and we need it to mean something here." The crowd was quieter now, some drifting away, others hanging on every word. Maria didn't look at them. She looked at Sophia, her sleepy eyes, her tiny hand clutching the bunny. She thought about the diaper pack, Carla's hands, the stares, the weight of proving herself again and again. She thought about her husband, Miguel, who'd believed in her when she was just a bookkeeper with a dream. She thought about the families her nonprofit had fed, the workers whose jobs she'd saved, the kids like Sophia who deserved a world that saw them. "I'll consider it," Maria said finally, her voice steady, resolute. "But if I say yes, it's not for your brand. It's to make sure no one, Latina, black, white, anybody, walks into your stores and feels like I did today. It's to make sure my daughter grows up in a world that respects her, not just when they know her name." Diane nodded, her eyes glistening, and handed Maria a business card. "Call me directly. Anything you need, I'm here." Maria took the card, slipped it into her tote, and pushed the cart forward. The sliding doors parted, and the summer air washed over her, warm, heavy, but lighter than the store's fluorescent glare. She loaded her groceries into her Honda CR-V, strapped Sophia into her car seat, and kissed her forehead. "We're good, mija," she whispered, meaning every word. As she drove home, the radio played a soft salsa tune, and her phone lit up. Texts from her sister, her best friend, a co-worker who'd seen the video spreading online. "You okay? You're a queen." That was epic. She smiled faintly, but didn't reply, letting the wind through the open windows carry the day away. Maria wasn't angry anymore. She wasn't even exhausted, just clear, like the sky after a storm. She'd stood her ground, not for likes or views, but because it was right, for her, for Sophia, for every person who'd ever been made to feel small. Carla was gone. Greg would face consequences. Grayson's would carry her shadow in every training session, every policy review, and maybe, just maybe, her voice on their board would make stores feel like safe spaces, not battlegrounds. At home, Maria fed Sophia, rocking her to sleep in the quiet of their small apartment. The diaper pack sat on the counter, no longer a symbol of shame, but a badge of her strength. She thought about Diane's offer, not the title, but the chance to rewrite the script for others. She'd call tomorrow, probably say yes, but on her terms. She'd demand training that taught empathy, policies that saw people, not profiles. For tonight, she was just Maria, mom, widow, survivor, the woman who didn't need a card to know her worth. But the story didn't end there. The video went viral, hundreds of thousands of views by morning, shared across Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. Comments flooded in. "She's a hero. This is why we need change. Grayson's better step up." Local news picked it up, then national outlets calling it the supermarket showdown that changed everything. Maria didn't watch the coverage. She was too busy reading emails from strangers, thanking her for standing up, sharing their own stories of being judged, dismissed, erased. A teacher from Cleveland, a nurse from Atlanta, a student from Miami. Each one felt like a thread, weaving a tapestry of resilience she hadn't known she was part of. 2 weeks later, Maria met Diane at Grayson's headquarters. She didn't join the board, not yet. Instead, she negotiated a partnership. Alvarez Hope would co-design their new training program focusing on bias, respect, and accountability. Grayson's pledged $500,000 to her nonprofit, not as a PR stunt, but as a commitment to communities like hers. Maria insisted on transparency. Every dollar tracked, every change public. She wasn't here to be a token. She was here to build something lasting. Back home, Sophia played with her bunny, unaware of the ripples her mother had set in motion. Maria watched her, a quiet pride swelling in her chest. This wasn't about fame or revenge. It was about a world where Sophia and every child could walk into a store, a school, a life, and be seen for who they were, not what others assumed. Maria didn't need a silver card to prove her power. She carried it all along in her heart, her voice, her refusal to bow. If this story hit you, if it stirred something deep, drop a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment. Tell us about a time you stood up or saw someone rise against the odds. Subscribe for more stories of strength, truth, and people who rewrite the script. Let's keep this fire burning, because stories like Maria's aren't just moments. They're movements,